This is the first time I have done a live video on TikTok, so I have no idea if it's actually working right now. I wanted to stop by and make presents. I was cracking up literally last night when I saw a comment that was left on a video that I shared on another platform. And it said, it was questioning whether I was real or if I was AI. And I'm real, I'm the real deal. So here I am making presents, first video. I'm sure it won't be the last. And I wanted to share information, basically thoughts, ideas, experiences. And so here I am. One of the things that I have learned in life is that if we have a voice, well, let's use it, right? Many of us that came from abusive relationships, domestic violence with abusive, toxic men, and most of them will never acknowledge, they will never take accountability for their behavior, but they will blame the one that they're using as a target. I've learned that the best way to live life is to work on you. We are the only ones that need to be worked on. You know, we are the ones that need to love us. So I'm excited. Today is Friday, August the 15th, 2025. Just a few days ago, I celebrated another wonderful event. My middle son Elijah turned 23, and just filled with inspiration and so much gratitude because I am here. I am here because of a higher power. As I have shared in the past, I went through 2 domestic violence relationships, 2 men that I was married to. I had my firstborn with the first marriage, and the 2 other were the second marriage. And I am free. I broke the cycle. I broke a very toxic cycle. I'm the glitch. And I'm here to raise awareness about the importance of loving ourselves. We grew up in a society that teaches us to hate ourselves, to criticize ourselves. Just got goosebumps. So many of the teachings that many of us got as children came from fear and control and very conditional love. As a parent, before I became a parent, I had made the decision that I would never be like my parents. My parents lived in fear. You know, they lived by the beliefs that they had been taught to believe when they grew up. And by the way, I am a proud Mexican. I am bilingual, although I connect to other languages like energy, vibration, and totally connected to my intuition. I use discernment. I've reconnected to, by the way, thank you for those that are joining my first live. I decided to join the live community. I was fascinated by a comment that someone left on one of my videos that I posted on YouTube, on one of the YouTube videos. And he said, "You're not real. Are you AI?" And I was laughing. I was just absolutely laughing because I'm the real deal, baby. And I am here because of a higher power. I've had several near-death experiences. And, well, it's been an amazing life journey. I can say, total goosebumps. I can say that the demons that got sent to my life absolutely failed. I am protected, anointed, and chosen to rise above everything that came to destroy my children and I. My 2 younger sons, I fought for them before they were even born. Because although I was married and I was led to believe that that man wanted children, when I found out I was pregnant, he was trying to get me to get rid of the pregnancy. I was in shock. I was married, you know, that kind of stuff. I thought only, thank you, Alora, son. Thank you. Thank you for being here, by the way. I love your content. You're an inspiration. And as I was sharing, when I got pregnant, I had already been led to believe that, you know, this man wanted children. And I actually had already left him. I had filed for divorce after finding out certain things. And, you know, like many domestic violence women, it takes more than one time to leave the abuser. And it took, I'll have to sit down and count how many, but I had literally filed for divorce. And, you know, I got convinced and I took him back. I had already moved into a large rental home in California, and lo and behold, he knew I was no longer on birth control. And holy smokes, you know, divine power had different plans, and I got pregnant. One time I got pregnant, and of course, as soon as he found out, he did everything in his power to try to get me to not welcome that precious gift that our Creator had given us. And, you know, our divine Creator, Source, whatever you choose to call it, higher power, God, you know, the universe, like goosebumps, had other plans. And both him and his mom came at me with full power trying to convince me. And I was in shock because, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I had seen happen with teenagers, not to a married woman. And this was 10 years after my firstborn, you know, the first marriage that I had a son that was 10 years old. Special needs son, my precious Kyle, and who is now 33. And so anyway, I've been fighting for my two youngest, and actually the three, since a very long time. Share this video. Thank you for sharing. Share this video. Let's raise awareness that you know, the divine feminine has risen, and we are here to elevate the frequency. We are here to balance. We have stepped aside and allowed beautiful karma to take over. You know, we are no longer protecting those who choose not to heal. That's a lesson in itself I had to learn. But anyway, I do a lot of thinking, you know, I do a lot of writing. I am writing a documentary of my life. I've got several books lined up. And just, you know, because I want to leave a legacy for my children. If I can help other individuals, that's just awesome. But I love reading books in the past, and even now, saved my life. I came from a dysfunctional family, and, you know, I fell in love with books and the knowledge that was within books. And, you know, amazing stuff has happened. And I think, I know I have been connected to a higher power for many years, even before I realized what was going on. And I'm just so excited to finally remember the God within us, each of us. And I was remembering, you know, I was writing something yesterday, and many, you know, I'll be honest, I have never read the entire Bible, you know. That was another form of indoctrination. So anyway, I have read a lot of the Psalms, and I love reading. I love anything that comes from love. And actually, you know, I come from love, and I see everything through the eyes of love and infinite potential. And I was reading, you know, I wrote that so many of us have been told to love your enemy. And it got me thinking, you know, including myself. At one time, you know, I thought that we are supposed to love our enemy. We are supposed to put others first. And, but I felt connected to the interpretation that I had the other day. And the real interpretation of love your enemy, it is loving your enemy. We are our greatest enemy. It's telling us to love us, to self-love us. But, you know, we were programmed through beliefs and thoughts. You know, those words that came from unloving individuals, from people that did not come from love and only wanted to instill fear and control. And so today, if you remember anything from this live video, God said, love your enemy. I obeyed him. So I love me. Anyway, I am so excited. I'm a new resident of the state of Missouri. Not new, because I lived in Missouri many years ago. I left in 1999 after I got court permission from a judge to return to California with my youngest son. I only had him. And I had divorced a very violent, abusive man. And although I have a ton of documentation and evidence that I think he thought I never would have. I'm having so much fun right now. I came back to Missouri because of my oldest son. My oldest son is a special needs child adult that's 33, and he was placed in a group home by his father, who became his guardian when my son turned 18. This man went against everything that we had agreed, and he took guardianship behind my back. Used the playground, the court system that is used by many abusers to follow up with their post-separation abuse. And, you know, at that time, I had no idea. Shoot, I didn't even know what the word narcissism meant. I just thought I had escaped alive. I escaped, you know, alive with my son. And I returned back to California to the family that I thought would support me. And long story, but no, I've learned a lot from the family. A lot of the dysfunctional, toxic families, they're very comfortable in their, you know, dysfunction that they think is perfect. And I don't believe that. I went no contact with my biological mother in 2012. She has since passed away. 2022, I believe she passed away. And, you know, sometimes we have to bury people in life. And that's what I did. I mourned her death many years ago. I'll share the story about that later. But when that happened, when I chose to walk away from that, that was the last straw. And I walked away out of respect for myself and to safeguard my children, my two youngest. I've had full custody of my two little ones that are not so little anymore. I have two giants here with me. I am remarried. I have a third amazing partner. He is on a healing journey with me and has allowed me the space to continue my healing. We relocated to Missouri. I brought 3 men with me and a fur baby. And I am here, even though I am not allowed to see my oldest son because, you know, the abuser has absolute full control of what he does and says and works those, you know, amazing manipulative techniques that, you know, abusers with narcissistic behavior, you know, are very savvy. And so before I even knew about what was happening with my son and the way he got placed in the group home, you know, things happened. I shared a video yesterday about, you know, I was talking about an ex parte order, and that's an order that was crafted, okay, in 2015 in March, after he got denied the access to return, forced my son to return to Missouri. My son went to visit me in January, I think, was it January 2015, and a whole lot, you know, of allegations came up, and, you know, that's when he had taken him to the airport. He described him to an official, airport official, in his face, right in front of my son's face. He told the official that, you know, this was his mentally retarded son, and, you know, of course, my son needed extra help. And my son absolutely hates that word. I actually detest that word. He's my precious son. You know, it's such a blessing to have been gifted a special needs child. And individuals with, you know, abusive patterns, they don't see the gift in that. To me, my children are an absolute blessing. I was told as, I can just ramble on. I was told as a teenager when I was visiting Mexico, my family, you know, we were from Mexico, and I was told that I would never be able to have children. As a teenager, I think I was like 16 when that happened. And, for a doctor, a specialist to tell you that you were not going to be able to have children, my menstruation would not show up. It was quite late, and they were trying to force me to bleed. And so the doctor said, told my mom in front of me that I would never be able to have children. So I always wanted to have children. I came from a family, we were 7, I'm the middle one, the crazy one. And when I finally got pregnant with my first, with the first marriage, I actually didn't think I would be able to, but, I was coerced. I was told, like, if you don't have a child, that means you don't love me. And, we were already having marital problems. And I was in school. I was finishing the profession that I had gone into. I was a dental hygienist for many years. I was in the dental field for over 30 years. And so, I guess he knew that I was wanting out. And, God, divine power, had different plans. I ended up agreeing to getting pregnant before I actually got my dental hygiene license, before I graduated. And now I know that, narcissists, abusers actually use children to entrap you. And I realized that. I welcomed my son when he was born. He was born premature, a month early. I'll share that story at a later time, but it's such a gift. And I was scared. I was so scared to give birth. I was so scared of needles that I refused to get an epidural, even though they had admitted me by emergency because my blood pressure had skyrocketed, and I refused to get an epidural. I went 24 hours trying to, allow my son to be born, and I didn't agree to the epidural until it became an imminent emergency, and they had to do a C-section. So if it tells you anything, how, they waited till last minute. I literally felt when they, cut my belly. And boy, I have so many stories that I can share now. And basically it's to inspire others to remember your power, to never give up on yourself. These individuals, got goosebumps. These individuals that target us, they see the light in us, they see the power in us before we even know, before we are, before we remember, before we reconnect to our power, that purpose that we have within us. They see it, but, we are so caught up in disbelief and, self-doubt and all the beliefs and ideas that our parents, and I'll say parents because my parents, came from dysfunction, and the only thing that they could provide is dysfunction, and they believed, very strict religious beliefs, Catholic at the time. And so, they did the best they could. I hold love for everybody, but I learned that you can love people from afar, and we have there is no obligation to be around toxic, abusive people. And going no contact out of respect for yourself, even including your blood family, is the greatest act of rebellion against a system, against a world that wants us to submit, to allow others to control. Just the whole idea of God outside of us, this powerful being in the sky, ruling over us. That in itself was the first idea that they programmed people to believe. God is within us. You can debate all you want. I know that God is within us. I have reconnected to the Christ consciousness that is within all of us, that many, there are people that still need to remember that God is within us. Christ rises within us. And, so of course, these beliefs that I have about God do not go along with religion, not the Catholic belief that I grew up in. And so, I haven't stepped in a church in many years, and I'm proud to say that, and I have no intention to go to church. My body is my temple. I walk in nature. I ground. I go outside every day, and, the wind talks to me. The birds sing to me and speak. I'm a tree hugger. I ground every day. I believe in homeopathic medicine. I believe that the earth is here to take care of us, to remember, to balance. Many of us fell out of alignment. We fell into a deep sleep of not remembering. And I realized we came like that. It was intentional. But you know, we are meant to remember. We are meant to remember that we are spirits in a human body. And I know some people are wondering, how the heck does she know? You know, like I dream stuff. I have an adoptive mother that sees me as her daughter, an older lady, and she was heavenly sent. And they're not dreams, they're visions. She's like, baby, they're not dreams, they're visions. And I do believe that. You know, I see things before they happened. I see things that are happening. And when I was in so much abuse and chaos and drama, you know, being caused by others that wanted me to stay in fear, I had forgotten about that. I actually even, you know, some people may relate to that. I was scared of the thoughts, the things that I would see, you know, like the day in January of 2006 when the biological sperm donor for my two youngest, you know, did his, you know, best to get rid of me that day and in front of my two little ones at the time. He was crazy. He literally, it was like I was fighting a demon that was possessed, and literally a demon had possessed him. I firmly believe that. And later I did find out that he had been using drugs and alcohol, and he was just looking for an excuse to get rid of me, and he failed. He failed miserably. That was my way out. You know, I would pray, you know, for his well-being, and I would pray that God help me and my children, and God said, you're going to get this massive beating, and that's going to be your way out, and you're going to be at the verge of death. And so I dreamt about that. It was, you know, during that experience, it was like deja vu for me because I had already lived that particular event in a vision 3 days before. But I was in denial. You know, being in abusive relationships, and you know, I was so independent I have been very independent my entire life because of the way I grew up, you know. And there's a lot of doubt, you know. You have to really, really make a conscious effort to get rid of the programming that we were given. And many years ago, as a child, I fell in love with reading, and, you know, I would devour books, and I was just so fascinated about the stories and the love and everything that existed outside this dysfunctional home that I lived in, that I had no idea it was even dysfunction. My father came from a very abusive family where, you know, he shared with us at one time when he was already a grown adult. His father was beating his mother severely, and he got in between, and, you know, he told him, you ever touch her again, that'll be the last time. And so he never showed any physical aggression towards my mother. At least I never saw it. So, you know, it really, I never thought that I would be going through, you know, years ago, the abuse that I had experienced. And I know that I have been chosen. I have been protected for a very long time, even as a child. And you get to the point, I already gotten goosebumps, you get to the point where you realize that you don't walk alone. You know, we don't walk alone. There's an entire army of light, okay? Call them angels, you know, divine warriors, our ancestors. They walk among us. They walk with us. When I realized who walked alongside of me, with me, at all times, got rid of fear. That four-letter word that stops so many dreams. And so it's very difficult to do, but it's doable. You know, books saved me. I looked for ways, you know, I thought I was the one that was defective, so I was always looking for ways. How can I communicate better, you know? How can I think different? How can I make people like me, you know? For many years, I felt like I was not worthy of being loved, of being liked. And so I was always looking, and I found the answers in books. And through that, you know, I was guided to different books, you know. Different books would land in my lap, you know. Patients would bring me books, The Course in Miracles, you know, so many. You know, one time I literally was in a bookstore. My favorite place was a bookstore because, I would just, that was my safe place. I would go and look for different books. And I was walking out one time and I was walking out, and out of the blue, I didn't even touch the shelf. A book, crazy stuff, literally fell in front of me. And so, of course, I bought it because, I'm like, whoa, I read, some of it, and I'm like, oh, this book belongs to me. I'll share that book later, but it's a book that has like a trilogy in it. And anyway, so this is the first time I decided to come live. I have another platform in the FB, Facebook. I'm not as active there anymore. A few years ago, when a lot of accounts were being eliminated, my husband's and my original account, the first one that I opened, somehow got eliminated. And it didn't matter that we provided the IDs or anything. It got hacked. And anyway, I'm not attached to anything. I can start over anytime. And that's another message for anyone. Get to the point where you detach from material stuff. The most amazing things, the most important things in life, are the things that money cannot buy. And that was a journey in itself for me to get that, because I was one of those that was also, into material stuff many years ago. And in 2002, around 2002, 2003, and in 2005, that whole year when my oldest son at the time was attempting to take his own life, that was one of the hardest, most difficult times that I had as a mother. That was life-changing for me. And I tried for a whole year to keep him alive. He was in and out of the hospital. He was bullied in school, and through some essay allegations, I'll share later, he was triggered into this psychosis, and he would go from very severe depression to severe anger, and he was really struggling, and I blocked him from, trying to take his life. And I had a whole team of professionals helping me, and it was exhausting. It was the most difficult thing as a mother to see your son like that. And he taught me so many lessons. He has taught me so many lessons. My 3 children have. And my adopted mother, I love that lady. It's old age. And she had told me, she said, sweetheart, you got to let him go. That was the first time I learned about letting go. She said, baby, you got to let him go. You got to let him go. He doesn't belong to you. He belongs to God. He belongs to our Creator. He was just a gift. And it took me a year, and I finally surrendered. And I surrendered. And it was, it happened so fast. I couldn't even talk to the biological father, that first abuser, because there was any interaction with him, the shit that came out of his mouth, describing me and everything. I couldn't tolerate it. It was just, I would literally be a nervous wreck. I'm not like that anymore. I've reclaimed my power. And so everything happened once I surrendered. Divine power just aligned, everything aligned. And I was able, I believe I had placed him in the right place. I was led to believe things that were not true. And anyway, sometimes you learn the hard way that you trust the wrong people. But my son is alive, and he is in a group home with absolute control from his guardian. And I will not regress. I will not have contact with abusers. I will not have contact with individuals that live a lie and that manipulate the truth. Anybody that collaborates with abusers, they don't belong in my life. I've gone through a lot of therapy. I've gone through so much. And my youngest children have gone through so much. And I'm not willing to, have ignorant people that want to maintain an illusion of truth to hide the fact that there's abuse, or that, things are not right, all for money and then they blame someone else, and then they pretend like everything is, perfect. And, the legal system, the family court, probate court, courts, until it changes to, common law, the law of the land. It was corrupted many years ago, and many of us didn't know until we lived through it, and now I know how much corruption happens. And anyway, I went through the process. I hired and fired an attorney that I knew had been compromised. The vision was there, and some things you don't tell them, you just let them happen, and I knew it, and so I just went through the process to finish with that last court situation, and I was told by the guardian ad litem that I know had, received, fattened his wallet a little more. And he made his last, statement, like, you should apologize. For, doing what you did. And I just listened to him. And what did I do? I tried to protect my son. I brought up evidence that they refused to accept, they refused to acknowledge, and only chose whatever they wanted to fit their narrative. And, I already knew what was going to happen, but I have nothing to apologize to abusers that love to hide the fact that they abuse. When the time comes, everything comes out. They had the audios, they had the videos, and still denied the abuse. And I'm okay. I'm here. I'm letting karma, have a blast, and the collective narcissistic collapse that's happening. We've been waiting for this. There's no revenge needed. When evil things happen to you, you just let it be. Patience. They know what they did. The higher powers know what evil people do, especially against children and chosen people that, came with love. And I had to step aside and just let them, sometimes you have to give people enough rope to hang themselves. It is what it is. We can't change people, a lot of people are sold out. A lot of people see money as their God. And in this world, we need money. We need money, But money is not our God. Money is not my God. And but anyway, how's your day going? And I just, I'm here. I'm not AI. I'm the real deal, baby. So we'll see what happens. Choose to have an amazing day. Choose you. Love you. The only people that we can control, nobody outside of you. You have to face those demons within you. You have to face the traumas. You have to, reprogram yourself with loving, powerful words that help you remember what lies within you. And you have to, we're like an onion. You have to peel, You have to peel the layers. I think, oh, I'm done healing. And then, whoa, more thoughts come in, more memories, and I just surrender. I'm having fun with this. I feel younger than ever. I feel younger than ever. I have 3 beautiful sons, and nobody, no abuser, no manipulator, no liar, no psychopath, no narcissist, no system can take the love away that you feel for your children. It's mine. They're mine. The love is within me, and they're part of me. And so, an order, paper written by corruption, it's not valid, What's yours is yours, and nothing or nobody can take it away from you. But if you're in this journey, biggest lesson, let go. Heal you, love you, be willing to do the inner work and, that shadow work. By that, it means, those things, that self-talk, I used to hate myself many years ago. That ain't the case now. I love myself. I just, I think I'm the most amazing person in my life because, God is within me, and God, we're supposed to love God, and God is within us. So our duty is to love us. So anyway, when you level up to that level of awareness and consciousness, people that are unhealed, they will think that, oh, she's all that, or she's arrogant, or, whatever they think. It's not your business. We are our only business. And, you know, life is not meant to be, you know, in domestic violence. Life is not meant to be, you know, under the control of a tyrant. And so anyway, you know, there's so much peace in knowing that what's meant to be is going to be. There's so much peace in surrendering and letting go. In choosing to see the beauty in everything, you know, everybody. I'm a teacher. I'm a student. I'm a watcher, you know. I learn from everything. And I never lose because I always win. I always learn, you know. I level up. I see things different. I'm willing to transform. You know, if something is not working out, I realign. And that's what we got to do. We got to realign. You know, it's like you have to, like driving a car, you know, you have to be aligned. If your car's not aligned, it's going to be like, you know, bouncing. And we're the same way. We are the greatest creation that has to be in alignment. You know, it's mind, body, spirit, you know. Remember, you are amazing. You are awesome. You are the most magnificent creation. And you forgot. So remember, if you were looking for a message, if you were looking for a sign, here it is. You're amazing. You're gorgeous. You're beautiful. You're powerful. You are the most amazing divine creation that the universe brought to life. So remember that. Stand in your power. You know, they say that the patriarchy system has ruled for many years and the world's going to shit. I don't watch the news, but, you know, I've seen a lot of evil. And all that evil, the universe, you know, the ancestors, karma. They don't care if you try to destroy the evidence. They have the originals. They have the originals. You know, they had plenty of time to change their ways and they chose not to. So anyway, it's been a pleasure sharing and just voicing, and, you know, I am not AI. I am the real deal, baby. And I'm here to stay. And, you know, I don't celebrate my birthday anymore, just so you know. I don't count the days. I make the days count. And I don't celebrate birthdays because that's also a ritual to age you. So I am getting younger every day. And I am remembering and I'm transforming and I'm just remembering who I am. And I remembered. And, you know, if there's more to remember, I know that I'm going to remember. So do you stay in your own lane, okay? And I appreciate those that shared this live, first live. And I'm sure it's not going to be the first time. By the way, my hair, I had a braid yesterday, so, you know, I took the braid off. So it looks curly. A quick example, you know, when for many, many years, my hair was straight. If I permed it, many years ago, you know, when perms were in, it would go away really quick. And so now my hair has transformed. I mean, it doesn't take much. I can, you know, put it up in a bun and it'll end up curly. I wash it and without touching it, it's like curly. And my hair transformed along with myself, you know. So for those that don't believe in change, look at yourself. You're not a baby anymore. So anyway, enjoy this life. Enjoy now. You could live heaven on earth. But, you know, we were led to believe that heaven was somewhere else. They made hell. We lived in hell. And when you rise in consciousness, you can create heaven on earth. Love you. Be happy. Be grateful. Constant state of gratitude. You know, your mindset. You have power. Your words, you know, can destroy you or they can rebuild you and build you up. So anyway, I'm going to disconnect for now. But continue being you. Continue being that beautiful, beautiful soul that you are. And thank you for all your comments. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for healing you. Thank you for making the choice to break the toxic, dysfunctional, abusive cycle.